Welcome to another beautiful conversation today with a coach, Pam Pryor, who I met just recently on social media, and we immediately connected because we are on the same energy frequency when it comes to money, when it comes to financial education and all that good stuff. Welcome, Pam. I am so happy that we have you on the show because the information you are going to share today with our audience is one of the most important things when people are starting business, right? And many of them do
Yeah.
not realize that. So we are so blessed to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I am so glad to be here. Honored to be part of this.
And just so you know, guys, Pam not just coaches, she also is an author. She's a best-selling author. She has a book out. She is a radio show host. She's got a really great stuff going on. But I let her speak about that because Pam, you can introduce yourself the best way possible. So take it
Oh,
away.
thank you so
Go for it.
much. You've got it. So I have written a book on being a CFO or being a financial lead inside organizations,
Mhm.
teaching entrepreneurs to do that for themselves so that they get in sort of their own language, everything they need to know about finance and accounting without having to learn all the details of bookkeeping and Excel spreadsheets, and in a way that gets rid of all of those, the box where you keep the receipts, the drawer where you keep the reports, and all of a sudden really works people through there are four major objections for people getting into the finances, into their business. And we walk through the four solutions to each of those obstacles. So that's what I focus on with all my existing clients in an accelerator. That's a 12-week accelerator that I run. And then also when I'm fortunate enough to talk to audiences like yours and talk to you, which is why we clicked.
Yes. So you teach the coaches and the online
Mhm.
entrepreneurs how to manage the financial part.
Right.
What makes you an expert in this field?
So I was in corporate world for 30 years, 20 of them at one company, DuPont. If you're in the States, you probably know the name DuPont. And we I grew up from accountant to CFO in that environment, and also was part then of a pharmaceutical company. And then once we sold that, I became the CFO of a baking or controller of a baking company, and then the CFO of a logistics company. And in between some of those jobs over that 30-year career, I worked with entrepreneurs. And all of a sudden it occurred to me, I don't know why it took this long, is that that's what I really loved doing. These other things that I called my real job, and I use that in quotes, the corporate stuff, I always loved it, but it didn't spark that thing, that energy that you talk about that really made me light up. And I really lit up when I started working with entrepreneurs. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years and loving every bit of it. And the cool thing about this is all of the same principles and lessons that I learned in corporate, they apply to entrepreneurs, but I can strip away all the bureaucracy and all the extra weight and all the you have to do it this way from it and make it fit for each entrepreneur. So I think that's sort of the unique thing that qualifies me to work with businesses of all sizes now.
You're definitely qualified, yes. So I'm glad you touched up on this thing that you went from corporate, from these like 30 years of amazing experience, expert in your field, and then you said something switched, you something clicked, and you went and you started your own business. Now, what I want to know and what our audience wants to know, was it like a easy decision for you? Was it something that just came and then you're like, okay, here is my, letter of goodbye, and here I am starting my own business? Or was it gradual? Did you kind of like side hustle first and like gradually let go of your corporate career, or how did that happen? That transition for you?
So yeah, it was kind of interesting. It wasn't a side hustle thing. Well, I guess you could call it a side hustle, but I was never doing it while I was in a job. So what happened was in the last three companies that I worked on, they were long events. It was a 10-year, then a 6-year, then a 4-year. And I spent a lot of time loving every job that I did. I never disliked any job that I did. But what I would do in between those roles at the same time that I was looking for the next corporate job is I would work with an entrepreneur. And I truly thought of it as an in-between job. And after the third place, I looked at it and I worked with a couple of entrepreneurs that time. And then I took my next real job, fully thinking this is what's going to happen. And I'm going to be here till my career ends. And that's wonderful.
Mhm.
Literally a month into the door, I knew, even though this job was exactly what I had always loved, it was the perfect job on paper for what I love to do and how I contribute the most. And the opportunity was there and the people were there. But I knew a month in, I wasn't aligned with it. So I had a commitment to them. So I saw that through for a year. But I knew from the first month that by the end of the year, when I got done what I'd committed to, I would be resigning. So I actually did have the letter of resignation written, and I kept it in my desk, and I knew exactly what day I was going to turn it in. Um, I had gone through the process of really thinking, well, maybe I won't do that. I'll stay here. I mean, I'd flip flop back and forth a few times, but it was very clear to me very early on that that was not going to be my final job. And I'm so glad I pulled the trigger. It was perfect for them. It was perfect for me. And that's how it kind of happened. So yeah, it festered for a little while, but never where I was unhappy because I always knew exactly what was going to come.
That is a little unusual story. What we hear mostly is people are
Yeah.
unhappy with their career and then they kind of like play with it part time and they start their business gradually.
Hmm.
There are few that we interviewed on this show who just called like dropped it like they just left the corporate and started their businesses. This is kind of cool to hear that there are different ways we get to it. And
Oh
in
yeah.
your case, you're happy with your job, but
Hmm.
something lit up when you worked with those entrepreneurs. So there's that
Right.
calling you felt, right? That
Hmm.
you're pulled towards that. So that's
Yeah.
really cool. And I want to say to our audience, just pay attention. Pay attention to how you feel around certain
Hmm.
things, right? And what you try. So numbers are your passion. Were you always that kind of kid who was like really good at mathematics and physics and all kinds of like science and numbers were your thing?
Not science so much, but numbers for sure. So math right up through algebra and geometry,
Mhm.
never calculus. I totally tanked at calculus. But the thing that I do remember is as a little kid, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, when my dad was an accountant, and when he would come home, he'd work in his office. He had a little table set up for me in the office where I had a little stapler and pack of paper and those kind of things. And I always loved the office concept. I loved going to the office and working in the office. And then I was very lucky in high school to have taken an accounting course in 11th grade. I didn't know what it was. I needed to fill it. I thought I'd take it. I loved it. Something lit up. So I knew right then and there I was going to be doing this. And I did it in college. And then I did a master's degree in business after that and knew that's what I was going to do. I loved it, but loved that. I love the numbers about it because there's always an answer. But I was very lucky in my early career to learn, and we had amazing leaders to learn that what you do is how you do what you do is just as important as what you do. So I learned that most people didn't love numbers, and I had to make them meaningful to people. That was my role. And so I learned very early on that that was part of the job, and that the only way you make something meaningful to somebody is convince them that it's of value to them. So I was so lucky with the leaders I had because they basically set me up for this.
Wow. That is wonderful. What I'm thinking as you speak is how what I love about human race, about us people, is how we are each so different and we each are good
Oh,
at something different, which is such a great thing because here you are brilliant at what you do and you take it and now you get to teach it to coaches. You
mhm,
are an online coach. People would think
mhm,
like, why would I now become an online coach? There are so many online coaches, everybody's coaching business. You guys, there are so many different ways you get to do this. And there are so many different things that we need to learn. So just find that one that you feel you are an expert. That's your zone of genius, and teach that one. Like Pam would teach you how to handle your money, your finances, your accounting, all that stuff. I could teach you something else. Katie could teach you something else. And the other ladies and gentlemen on this show will teach you, each of them, different thing. So there is room for all of us. If that's your calling, go for it. And with that said, I want to hear from
So
you,
true.
Pam. I want to hear from you. What do you teach? What exactly, like, let's say somebody decides after they watch this show, they decide to go ahead and start their business online. How do they get started? What would you teach them in terms of finances?
That's actually great. So the very first thing I teach is, with each person that I work with, is where are they on this journey of the relationship with finances? You know, where is their avoidance or frustration, or sometimes lack of interest or fear? And I've identified, after working with so many entrepreneurs, there are really 4 categories of obstacles that keep people from diving into their finances. And 2 of them are psychological, and 2 of them are very practical. And there's a solution for each one. So the psychological ones are shame and fear. Those are the 2 that 2 things that are emotionally keeping us from diving in. And the other 2 are, we never have enough time to do this stuff. And it's a discipline that's so overwhelming for entrepreneurs. It's like marketing's overwhelming for me because I don't know my way around it. Finance is overwhelming for other people. So like you say, I need marketing coaches for that very reason. And so what I do is make very bite-sized pieces through a journey that takes that overwhelm and breaks it down into very easy steps, so that people realize they can address that fear. The other thing I talk about is the fact that fear is really of the unknown. Once that tiger's actually staring you in the face, you switch to action. So we get that tiger to stare you right in the face. We switch to action and we find the right items for you to work on. And the other big thing I'd say about fear is that fear really is of the unknown. So once we decide that fear is worse than actually dealing with something, because with fear, you always have a gray cloud hanging over your head, right? You go to sleep with it. When you're working with your clients, you have it. When you need to hire somebody, you don't know if you can. You're always worried about this money thing. So the reason you are is because you don't have a line of sight into what's going to happen in your bank account. So we teach them how to very simply do a forecast that an entrepreneur can manage very easily. You don't have to be great with numbers to do it, so that you have that line of sight now. So now you're not going to step in a pothole you don't know about. You can look out 3 or 4 or 12 weeks and say, oh, that's what's going to happen if I keep doing this. Instead, I can change a thing. The numbers now become something that tells a story that points to you what levers you can pull in your business to make a difference. And that's the coaching that we do. We teach them that they are in control of those levers. They know exactly what to ask for from whoever's providing them their numbers. And then they pull those levers and actually move their business using real comfort in their bank balance to do it.
That's priceless. I know when I started my business and there was this big investment I had to make, I was freaking out. I was counting my savings. I was counting, like, what can I sell? What assets do I have that I get to monetize and use towards that? And my coach looked at me, and I remember that she was just like looking at me like, what planet did you come from? She was like, there is a business loan for that. I was like, what is that? I couldn't understand the difference between like personal loan and business loan, and how,
Yep.
yeah.
We navigate all of
I
that for just
needed
that
you.
reason. And we make sure that, yeah, when you put that money in, you're going to look at a period of time and go, okay, yeah, I'm putting that money in, but I'm going to be comfortable with that because I know what I'm planning to do. And it holds you to it. It makes it real, instead of just, you might languish on just spending that money over time and never achieving any goals that you set. It puts those goals on paper and you see, yep, I'm reaching them or I'm not. And every month you can adjust, take bigger steps, different steps. And it just really, really helps that way.
Right. And so, Pam, a question for you. What advice would you give to your younger self? If you were starting over, would you change anything or would you do it the same way? Or what would you tell yourself?
So the truth of the matter is I've been blessed and I wouldn't change anything is the easy answer, but I will tell you an attitude adjustment I'd make. And the attitude adjustment that I'd make is that when I came out of corporate, I thought to myself arrogantly, I was really good in corporate. I'm going to knock this entrepreneur thing out of the park. It may take other people 3 or 4 years to get a business profitable. I'm going to do it 6 months and I'm off and running. So I was very cocky about entering a world I truly knew nothing about. And I didn't appreciate the difference between working in a large corporate career and being successful there and being successful in a small in working with entrepreneurs in a new world of technology in a new way where I'd have to do my own marketing, my own everything. Now that said, what I learned is that the people skills and the relationship building and the way that you lead is the same way that you're an entrepreneur. So a lot of I had all those skills there. I translated those, but I didn't appreciate all the new things I needed to learn, like just how much muscle stretching I needed to do around tech, around where to find the right people, around sniffing out scams, around all of the things that the corporation had protected me from doing before that I needed to now do myself. So I would tell myself, don't be so cocky, Pam. This is new territory, appreciate it, and seek out the learning earlier.
We always learn. So, yes, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. This is
Sure.
really, really very, very insightful and very, very just, it's real, you guys. It's real because it's not always easy and we don't want to scare you. We want to show you that this is for everyone, and if you want, you can go and get your business started. We are always here to help you. And yeah, but it's not always easy, so you
Right.
are going to be running into these obstacles. So yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about it today. So
Well, good.
I would like to know more about your book. Could you please show it to us one more time?
Yeah, sure. So the book is called, can you see that okay?
We do.
Your First CFO, and it's the accounting cure for small business owners. And it's a very easy read. I will tell you about my publisher, who I love and adore. Her name is Angela Loria, and she was also, I was lucky enough that she was my editor as well. And I sent her the first chapter of the book, and she's like, yeah, people need this. Let's write this book. And I sent her the first chapter. She's like, this is great. Keep going. I sent the next 12 chapters. I was really proud of myself. I sent it back. She called me and she said, I am taking this out in the backyard and throwing it in the bonfire. She goes, this is like an accounting textbook. You need to go back and do this again. And I said, okie dokie. So she gave me some very important tips on what I could do to make this incredibly readable. And now it's the story of an actual, not a specific client of mine, but I forget what you call it, but a sort of a mashup of a lot of my clients. And it walks through her story of going from, I'm scared of my finances. I don't know anything about it. I'm overwhelmed, to I'm selling my business for, it was a lot of money. It was $70 million from no cash. And it tells this story in a way that you can follow it. And inside, it shows you the tools that you can use, very approachable tools to implement these things. And in fact, the first chapter starts with just a questionnaire that you fill out. And it's very straightforward. And it's just you drawing what your business is. What is your business? If you had to make a picture of it, what does it look like? And it's all the things you should consider that are part of being in business. And it really is kind of a starting place for the book. And then we go through the rest. One of the chapters that gets particular attention is this chapter 6, which is what do I need to do my finances? Do I need a bookkeeper? Do I need an accountant, tax accountant, controller, CFO? It really walks through the different roles that are there and when and how you might want to integrate them into your business. And sometimes you don't even need them. You can get everything you need from, a read like this or anything else. And this is available on Amazon. So at a very reasonable price, and it's a quick read. Nothing, it won't put you to sleep, I hope.
Totally getting it today. Yes, we all need to get organized and educated on this subject. So what I love is that you're starting the book with kind of like a mental image of what you want your business to look like. That's so important. That's all that
Yes.
law of attraction,
Mhm.
visualization, like that's what will make it
Bingo.
real and bring it to life. And that's how it's gonna look one day. So very cool, very cool.
Yes, yes,
Wow. So, Pam, tell us, I know you have a gift for our audience today before we say
I do.
goodbyes. What is that gift?
Okay, so one of the things I mentioned that's a big obstacle for a lot of entrepreneurs, almost everyone I've ever spoken with, is this fear. If I look at this, I'm not going to understand it. I'm not going to know what to do with it. But yet, when we live with that fear, we never know if the next step we take is going to be a pitfall or an opportunity.
Mhm.
So, the way to get around that is by doing a forecast. Now, don't let that word scare you. I have a very cool tool that has a video embedded right in it that explains how to use it, that lets you create a very simple ongoing forecast for your business right away. Whether you have, and I'll tell you about this tool. If you have $0 in income yet, or I used it for a big lawn manufacturer I worked for that had $300 million in revenue. Same tool exactly, but it's so straightforward how to use it. It's a Google sheet. You can download it into Excel. You can use it in Google, whatever your preference is. But if you watch that video, I think it's 8 or 12 minutes. That's all. And then you do this exercise for 12 weeks. I guess I can't make it a promise, but I will tell you that it has never failed.
Mhm.
Anybody that has actually taken the 15 minutes a week that's needed to do this has always found money in their business, always. And so I just beg you to commit 15 minutes a week for 12 weeks to do this little thing, which is not too hard at all. And you will learn so much about your business. Even if you do nothing else, you will be 1 to 10 miles ahead of every other entrepreneur out there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because many times, most of the times, people get just excited about some amazing idea they have, and they get started with the business, and they have to
Mhm.
learn hard way as they go and as they make these
Yes.
mistakes. Why not set ourselves up for
Mhm.
success from the get-go? Learn this stuff. Talk to
Yes.
Pam. Where do we find you, Pam? If somebody wanted to connect with you,
You
where
can
would they
find
find
me. Yep. Couple places. So I'm definitely on Facebook, and I have a group that you're welcome to tap into called Profit Concierge for Entrepreneurs.
you? Mhm.
I also have a website called pampryor.com. It's PAMPRIOR.com. And a lot of tools and videos and all sorts of things there. Also have a YouTube channel out there where I drop tons of little mini master classes, 8 12-minute nuggets that I'm sure there's a topic there that might help any of us at any point in time.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, for your
Thank you. This
expertise,
was an
for your
honor.
wisdom. We are happy that we learned from you today. And thank you so much. We wish you all the best in your career,
Thank you so
in
much.
your business, in your life. And with you,
And let me
lady,
just, I want to jump in and say thank you for what you're doing. Getting everything that you're getting out through these interviews is so important for people to know. And it's a lot of work to do what you're doing. So I'm grateful for you as well.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do anything we can to help you out. I wish I had all that stuff when I first got started. So please stay tuned even for tomorrow's interview because that's going to be another mind blowing information. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Take care.